गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. For next two classes, we'll just take some question and answers. This is by Swami Krishnananda, who was the General Secretary of Divine Life. And a great intellectual. Great intellectual. If you read his commentaries, it's just fantastic. Maybe a bit too much for for someone who doesn't have the depth, but at the same time, let's see. When I first read him, I met him actually myself, Sujata ji and Nivedita ji, when we went to Rishikesh. We had the opportunity to have his darshan, get the blessings from him, and so the topics, there are many topics, but you can decide which one which topic do we want to see the question answers on. The topics are on free will, beauty and the psychology of desire, on meditation and service, total thought and meditation, what is the self, the higher self, the good and the bad, where is the soul, the absolute, tapas or austerity, universal action and duty towards others, how to let God into the heart, wanting only God, the inadequacies of science, sexual impulse versus meditation, diagnose the illness of life and go beyond, energy conservation, looking for happiness, spiritual atmosphere and God-world relation, concepts of God, the world's movement from materiality to spirituality, the phenomenon and the noumenon, the true heart, the connection between body and mind, the Ishta Devata, God and liberation, the last thought, female mountains, religious consciousness, beautiful thought, Eastern and Western thinking, the senses, the two kinds of sacrifice, intellectual understanding, the 10th obstacle, four kinds of conflict, activity after enlightenment, on Patanjali's yoga, the test of our progress on the spiritual path, after self-realization, creation of the world, karma, queries of seekers, Hindu gods and the one God, on work and meditation, on world crisis, the self in the deep sleep state, knowledge and material power, the relationship between brain and mind, the higher reality and the eternal impulses, what is yoga, Methodist ministers, who is your neighbor, war, who is a guru, the necessity for a guru, after the guru has left the body, the guru-disciple relationship, living the truth, devotion and the nature of ignorance, when God wants you, degrees of karma, the aim of education, the balance of nature, three kinds of meditation, the first thought and the great thought. Sadhana can be done anywhere, renunciation and transformation, fear of losing the world, the 7 stages of enlightenment, the blessings of Swami Shivananda. Choose. Quiet.
Too much choice.
Just concept
Too
of
many
God.
choices.
Okay. Huh?
Don't give choice.
Okay. Then we take. I also read it first time.
This is a new book. You got this book.
I have it
You had it.
first time I'm opening it.
Uh,
Not first time. I opened it before, but not read through it. we'll see the 7 stages of enlightenment. This is whether you take it through Kundalini, the 7 chakras, whether you take it through the Nad Sadhana, the Vaikhari Madhyama, Pashyanti Para, and then beyond, whether you take it through Hatha Yoga, whether you take it from Jnana Yoga point of view, everywhere there is 7 steps. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi, also 7. So everywhere this 7 is reflected. So let's see from Gyan Marg point of view, what is it? I think what he takes is that is reflected in the Yoga Vashishta. I think so, but let's see. Swamiji, I was thinking about enlightenment just before you came here. Enlightenment is like sunrise. I felt within myself that in the morning the sun rises, but the sun suddenly does not jump up to the top. This student is asking Swamiji. Or is the Swamiji is saying that. Andrew, he says, it rises slowly. It does not jump to the top straight away. That means it doesn't come to the 12 o'clock position straight away. It comes slowly. Swamiji says, it is pitch dark in the night as if there is no hope of any light. That is the state of ignorance. Andrew says, yes. Swamiji says, nobody can imagine that there can be any such thing as light when it is pitch dark, like coal. Later on, what happens? Slightly the sky assumes a grey color. That is early in the morning, just before dawn. The Andrew says, yes, that's the dawn. Swamiji says, slowly it becomes grey color. After that, it becomes a little pinkish, then slightly whitish. Then you will see the great man rising slowly in the east. Like that is enlightenment. I was just now thinking about it in my mind. In the beginning, it is all like idiocy, all darkness. There are people who are working on the roads carrying bricks and cutting wood in the forest and living their livelihood. What do they think in their mind? Andrew says, they think of survival. Swamiji says, survival, that is all. It is complete darkness as far as enlightenment is concerned. So, what is the point being made here from Swamiji? That if you are thinking about survival alone, then such a person is not qualified for enlightenment. Because he is still at the, not even Mooladhar, he is even below that. The energy is only into survival. How do I, what is that? Food, shelter and clothing. That's all he is thinking about. Andrew says, that's right. Swamiji says again, then a day comes in the life of a person when one wishes to do a good thing and not a bad thing. In the animal condition of human life, the idea of doing the proper thing and avoiding the improper thing does not arise. The day comes when after all, I must do some good thing. So when does that feeling come? In first point, in animal kingdom, bird kingdom, reptile kingdom, etc., etc., this feeling of doing good to others never comes. Then you might say, oh, sometimes we see dogs taking care of kitten. And those photographs we have seen, well, maybe they are souls from, they have got the memory from last life. But majority, in general, the animal kingdom doesn't make choices. They work on instincts. Man also, as long as he is surviving only for food, shelter and clothing, he is working on instincts alone. Then when does he start thinking that I must do some good? When does he start thinking?
When he is content.
When he is content, okay. When else?
When he is looking for some more deep answers.
When he is looking for something more deeper. When he has come to look at his life, that I have been only in the survival for so many years, and still I am surviving. Before I was surviving with only one meal a day. Now I have got a buffet and still I am only, my thoughts are basically about survival. Before I had only one dress, now I got a whole wardrobe. I am still thinking only about my survival. So when does this thought of survival stop? When he looks back at his life and sees that whole life that he has lived is just mechanical. Only one thought is guiding it, and that is, the body must survive, my ego must survive, my habits must survive. See, this thought that enough, that I must do something good, it is usually, one side is that when we look at, when we look at our past life, when we look at past life and say, analyze it. And the second is when the Lord's grace comes upon us. Then this thought comes. Because left to ego, even if it wants to do something good to other, it will think, what is in it for me? But it is the grace of the Lord that we want to do something good. Many people come here to the ashram, leaving their homes, leaving their jobs, and giving resignation to their occupations. Why have you come? I just want to do some good service. This is the first stage of enlightenment, says the Yoga Vashishta, a great scripture of India. That first stage is called Shubhecha in Sanskrit. Shubha means good, Shubhecha means a desire to do good. That means this is the first spark that has lit in your mind, wherein you stop living the doldrum life and want to change the direction of your life. You want to do good for outside, you want to do something good to yourself, you want to do good to the environment, you want to change because you have lived the way you have lived and it has not brought about happiness of any sort or contentment of any sort in your life. So, Shubhecha, first stage of enlightenment, the feeling, the desire to do good. How do you do good? How do you do good?
No harm to others.
That's one.
Service, social service.
Service, social service, by thought, word, and deed. You practice goodness. So you don't think bad thoughts, you want to think good thoughts. Why you want to think good thoughts? Because whole life I've been thinking bad thoughts. Enough. Enough. This is what Navratri is about. You are thinking all thoughts of negativity, all thoughts of laziness, inadvertence, pessimism, and when you invoke Durga, in spite of all the negativity, in spite of all the lethargy in your life that you are exposed to, that within and without, you invoke Goddess Durga and she removes that negativity and makes you positively positive. That means in spite of the negativities, you know they are there. They are still there. They have not gone away. But you choose to seek the positive. You choose to seek the divine. And that, when you start choosing, make that choice to seek the divine, automatically goodness will start expressing out of you. Hey. Automatically the goodness will start express out of you. Because the moment you start thinking of the divine, integration takes place within. Heart and mind start working together. Ego starts dissolving. At that very moment, dissolution of ego is not a destination. Dissolution of ego begins the moment we start thinking of the divine. The next stage is how to do good. The desire to do good is there, but what is good? You go on cogitating and thinking what exactly good is, and while you are cogitating, meaning contemplating, thinking about uh, what is this good. Initially the good will be, I want to do good to the others. Then when you see that doing good to others in your life has not still brought you any happiness. Why? Because those whom you are doing good to are ready to censure you, ready to speak bad about you. So you start thinking, this world cannot be changed. Then what is the next good I can do? Then you start doing good to yourself. And that's when yoga, pranayama, etc. begins. Or you come to a scriptural class, or you come to a satsang, or you come. Initially, you were going out for a satsang. Maybe now you start thinking, Arey, what's the point? How much I'm going to go out? Everything is within me. That's what the satsang said. So you start thinking within. You start finding the source of goodness within yourself. Initially, the source of goodness could be, I want good health. I want to be relaxed at the body level. I want to be relaxed at the mental level. Maybe that is the goodness that you are looking for. Let's see what Swamiji is saying. You go on cogitating and thinking what exactly good is. This is the next state to the mere desire to do good, which is called the state of investigating. It is cogitation, thinking oneself. What is actually the good thing? What am I searching for? What do I want? This stage is called vicharana. Vicharana means thinking. So first was the thought of doing good came in your mind. Then the next question is, what is good? Krishna was also asked the same question. Oh Lord, please tell me tell me that which is the best for me, because I am your disciple, I am your devotee. This was the question which was asked by Arjuna to Krishna. What is the best for me, the highest good for me?
Is good related to dharma?
We are leaving that question open. We are not going.
Or is it
We are
related to
not.
the highest truth?
We don't know. You inquire and find out. We are just talking about the stages. If that is what is, if your answer is that highest good is dharma, then your next question will be, what is my dharma? That will be your next question. So, as long as questions are coming in your mind about what is good, is it dharma is good? Is it dharma is dharma artha kama moksha? Is it dharma? Is it duty? Is it earning wealth? Is it satisfying desires? Is it satisfying other desires? Is it moksha? Wherever your mind is going, you have to find out, is that what is really resonating with you? Scriptures may be saying something, but you have to come to that conclusion in your own independent thinking. And that is the second stage of of enlightenment. Here also, in the first, ego is involved. In the second, ego is involved. Individuality is there, because only an individual can contemplate. Only an individual can inquire. Only an individual can think. The third stage is called Tanumanasi, the thinning out of the mind. The mind is fat with egoism, with desires of every kind. In the Yoga Vashishta, there is a verse in Sanskrit. By accumulation of wealth, by greed for pleasures, and attachment to this body, the ego becomes fat. They say the body can be fat, but the ego also can be fat. Because the ego owns everything. And the more ego owns not only the past but also the future, plus the entire everything that is related to the body, and it keeps increasing its own weight, grows fat by including everything. And in the truth, ego cannot include anything, because everything is independent basically. Every thought is independent, every breath is independent, every object is independent. So what can ego own? It can't own anything, and yet it tries to do that. There are people with stout egos. When the mind starts thinking, what is the proper thing for me to do? It begins concentrating on one thing only, wanting the proper thing. Wanting the proper thing. Do you know what is the proper thing? No. But you are looking for the proper good, isn't it? You know you must be good. But what is that goodness that I am looking for? Is it to be truthful? Is it to be love thy neighbor? Is it to never speak lies? Is it to practice brahmacharya? Is it to do my sadhana? Is it to read scriptures every day? Is it to do my japa every day? Is this the good that you are looking for? Or is it that good which is inherent within me? Is it that good which is not separate from me? But what is it? I don't know. And I continue to contemplate on it. And I keep thinking. But you cannot straight away come to this. Some people can. Some days you will be able to. But other days you may not be able to. Because your mind is transfixed on some issue that is more important in your life than this absolute good. But that day will pass. Again you will come back to the same point. What is that absolute good that I am looking for? What is the proper thing for me to do? It begins concentrating on one thing only, wanting the proper thing. Because it is concentrating on one thing only, the distractions caused by the earlier movements of thoughts in various other directions gradually cease or ease. What is single pointedness of mind or focused mind? When the mind starts thinking about one species of thoughts, and in that process, automatically it renounces all other thoughts, isn't it? Automatically. If I am focused on you, at this very moment, with my eyes and mind, I am with you. I am not concentrating on anyone else. I am not focused on anyone else. If in my own meditation I am thinking about something else, then the whole world I have dropped. Right now you are come inside in this house, you have dropped everything outside. Car, shoes, relationships, etc., etc., etc. Isn't it? See? So, idea is not that I have to drop something. Idea is I must get focused on something. That is the drop is negative. It's a negative approach. Neti neti. Positive approach is get focused on the highest good. And when you get focused on the highest good, automatically whatever is not required drops away. Drops away. Andrew says, yes, everything subsides when your mind becomes focused. Swamiji says, it subsides, it becomes thin, thread-like, as it were. So, the more we focus on, so right now, take example right now, you are listening to the satsang. How many thoughts of the world are there? When you are at home, you are listening to the news, you are listening to your children, you are listening to your husband and wife, you are thinking about checking out the mail, so many things your mind was going in. So many different directions. You came here, have all those thoughts of the world thinned out to some extent? To some extent, we are not saying completely, but it has thinned out, isn't it? Because you have focused. The mind is like a film that covers the consciousness of the self. When it is very thick and dark, the reflection of self-consciousness is prevented completely. And what is that place where it is covered completely? In deep sleep state. Where it is expressing a little bit but still you cannot catch it, it is in dream state. So deep sleep state is like a ocean with black ink put in it. The sun cannot, the moon cannot reflect in it. A dream state is like what? That there are too many waves on the ocean, and even though the moon is reflecting on the ocean, but you can't see it completely. And what is the sattvic state? That the agitation on the surface of the ocean has subsided to a large extent, wherein we are able to catch the reflection of the moon. Exactly like that. When, remember one more thing, consciousness, the if we take the simile, the mind when it is absolutely dark, ignorant, it is the deep sleep state. When it is very, very agitated, it is the dream state. When we are in the waking state or in meditative state, that is where the consciousness can be caught. The reflection can be caught. Can we catch it in the waking state? No, here also the thoughts of the world are quite a bit. But then this thought of I must do some good with my life, this thought comes in our mind. And as a result, the next point was what? Vicharana. Next, second stage was we start thinking about what is good. Now our focus is on good. Mind becomes single pointed. In that single pointed contemplation of what is the real good, the rest of the mind starts thinning. And as it starts thinning, when it is thin, it becomes perspicacious. As a light can properly reflect itself through a clean glass, but it will not be reflected in a thick brick. So, in this condition of thinness of the mind, called Tanumanasi state, it is about to detach itself from all earlier occupations concerned with sense objects. Up to these three stages, the enlightenment has not started yet. It is only a preparatory stage, a stage of kindergarten. So, what is Tanumanasi stage? Where our mind through vichar, through contemplation has become single pointed. As a result, the rest of the mind has thinned away. Thinned away means has stopped having impact on us. We are undisturbed by it. And as a result, the mind has become calm. In the calm mind, what did we say? In a calm ocean, the moon gets reflected. Similarly, in a calm mind, glimpses of bliss, glimpses of the self, they happen. They happen. You may not catch the self, but the joy, the bliss that you are experiencing within yourself as a result of that reflection, that comes about. It is in the fourth stage that one feels a flash as if there is a lightning. The sattva guna, the sattva quality of the mind manifests itself in the fourth state. Okay, so I am wrong. I thought Tanumanasi means, as I said, the mind has thinned, but it has not thinned enough to be called sattvic state. It is not the sattvic state. So sattvic state begins with the fourth stage. The sattva guna, the sattva quality of the mind manifests itself in the fourth state. In that condition, when one beholds flashes of lightning, not from the sky, but from within, one is designated as Brahmavid, one who knows Brahman. So, I take my words back. Everything that I explained in Tanumanasi towards the end, that you get the glimpse, that you get a thrill, that you get flashes, all that happens in the fourth stage, not in the third stage. Third stage is only that the mind thins away. And here in the fourth stage is the first stage of realization. First three stages, Shubhecha, doing good, Vicharana, contemplation and thinking about what is good, and Tanumanasi, thinning the mind by focusing on what is good. These were willful exercises. As a result of this, here there is no yoga, there is no pranayama, there is nothing, only thinking. This leads to the fourth stage, where as a result of this contemplation and thinning of the mind, the what you call the glimpses happen, and this is the first stage of a realized master, the fourth stage. Now, some people remain in this point, some people go to the fifth, some people go to the sixth, and some people go to the seventh stage, which is complete. So, but he's not from the sky but from within. One is designated as Brahmavid. What does Brahmavid mean? Vid means to know. Brahma, the one who knows Brahman. So he has got no doubt about it. Why? Because he has his own personal direct experience. Just like a person who sits in samadhi, when he is in samadhi, he has personal direct experience, isn't it? But he is still on the portals, only at the gateway of the palace of Brahman. He has not entered it. This stage is called Sattvapatti, attainment of high purity. So the next stage, the fourth stage, is called Sattvapatti, where Sattva Guna is there. Sattva Guna meaning equal to the mind has absolutely thinned out. He is having all the experiences and thrills. He has got no doubt about what is the absolute good. He has got no doubt now. But he has not become one with it. So, a person who goes into samadhi, he goes into samadhi, but he comes out of it. Then next time again he sits, again he goes into samadhi. It's like that at this stage. So, from Sattvapatti you can again come out, then again you have to contemplate and again get into that state. Then in the fifth state, the consciousness of externality melts down into the consciousness of universality. Now I see the world, I see people, I see space, time, sun, moon and stars. I see them because they are apparently outside me. Suppose the sun, moon and stars and all people are studied within my own body, I will see nothing outside me. I see this whole universe to be my own body. And how does this come about? This comes about by continuous practice or continuous abidance in the fourth stage, which was Sattvapatti. The consciousness of the external existence of things, including space and time, ceases. It is the stage called Asamasakti, total detachment from particularity, externality, casuality, causality, etc. Just like in Samadhi, there is Nirvikalpa Samadhi and there is Savikalpa Samadhi. What does Savikalpa Samadhi mean? That Samadhi which requires a support, isn't it? But similarly, in the previous one, in the fourth stage, Sattvapatti, there is a support, there is a goal, he is looking at something, he is experiencing something. So the experiencer and the experienced is separate, but he has got no doubt that there is something there. Whereas, and that means at that stage the individuality has not completely melted away. Still, a tiny speck of the sattvic ego is still there. Whereas in the fifth stage, which is Asamasakti, there is that little bit trace of ego which is left, that also goes away. He is totally detached to all the names, forms, experiences, contacts, objects, etc. He feels that the entire universe is not outside him, but it is him and him alone. It is within his body, as Krishnananda says, and as a result, you know, right now our vision is that of separateness. Camera is separate to me, I am separate to the cat is separate to Sema is separate to the chest of drawers, that is separate to the wall is separate to the other wall, this house is separate to the next house. So differences are established. When we are in the fourth stage, the difference that I am the experiencer and the experience that was happening, that was still there. That's why we were at the gateway of the sanctum sanctorum. We had not merged. But now what is happening? Even that, we have just come onto the threshold. We are entering. And the differences are all melting away. Differences are all melting away.
So
Then, yes?
So from knowledge you go to experience. Is that the way? Like just
But that experience is not brought about by you. It happens. Some experience will happen. Every knowledge, every thought must leave a result, isn't it? Some sort of or the other. Because thought is also action. Every action must have a result. You may not be expecting a result. That is good. Because you don't know what is good. You are just keeping the whole idea open for the good to reveal itself. Because if you decide good means this, then you are again limiting your experience of good. See? Then comes the next higher stage. Which is the sixth stage, called Padartha Bhavana, or non-material apprehension. Quantum physicists tell us that matter is light. It is not a dull stone-like substance that this earth is. It is inherently light itself. In this sixth stage, matter sheds its materiality, solidity, hardness, externality, weight, and dimension, and there is a flood of radiance everywhere, as if the whole universe is one sun. When one single sun rises in the east, we can see how much light is there. Here in this enlightenment, the entire space becomes sun. What would be the radiance? What would be the light? This is sometimes identified with what Patanjali calls in his sutras Savikalpa Samadhi, a penultimate state of union with the Absolute. See? And in this way, all the differences have merged into that one unifying. And what is that one unifying? How is that one unifying experience expressing itself? He says, just like the entire space of your mind is is pervaded by one sun. See? So a lot of people in the yoga, they experience this stage, but then they don't stay there continuously practicing, so they fall also. Because from Savikalpa Samadhi, the fall is possible. From Nirvikalpa Samadhi, also it is possible. We have to get into Sahaj Samadhi. In the last stage, which is called Turiya, there is none to behold this radiance. The beholder becomes the radiance itself. That means the experiencer and the experienced become one and the same. Before, in the fifth stage, where he was seeing that everything is in my body, he is still experiencing that everything is in my body. So the identification has not gone away yet. All that has happened is from individual body, he has taken the identification of the total body, Virat Purush. That's all. Then from Virat Purush in the sixth stage, He says that the entire matter, how do we know the whole universe? As space, air, fire, water, earth, and the admixture of all these five elements giving various forms. But now, what is the stage he has come to in the sixth stage? That this entire matter world is nothing but of the nature of consciousness. This is the experience that he is having. This is, he is observing this, he is experiencing it. And it is not that he is imagining and creating this experience in his mind. No. He is holding on to what is good. He is making his mind thin by concentrating on what is good. On what is good. He is not imagining that good is this or good is that. And as a consequence of this contemplation, all these stages are coming. And the fifth stage was, everything is in my body, the whole universe is, my body is the whole universe is existing in my own body. So what is happening as a result? His attention is not going out because everything is here only. In the sixth stage, that entire body, which is including the whole universe, that body has got no shape. It starts melting away to reveal that it is of the nature of light. It is of the nature of consciousness. And this also is his experience. That everything is melted away and it has become of the nature of light. In the last state, which is Turiya, if he continues to maintain this experience or come to this experience again and again and again by regular practice, by abiding there, maintaining that poise, then a moment comes where the one who is observing this light becomes the light. This is exactly the same stage where, when we say in meditation, in the absence you are the presence. That's where you get to. It's not other than that. The entire space-time complex that you call as existent, as the causative factor of the universe, becomes one mass of indescribable radiance, not of physical light, electrical light, nor even sunlight, but conscious light. In that last stage, which is the seventh, nobody is here to behold it, because the beholder has become the very thing which is to be beheld. This is the absolute experience. Andrew says, is it dissolution of the entire experience? Swamiji says, here is the pinnacle of enlightenment, and you will not know what happens to you at that time. People ask questions. What happens after enlightenment? Nobody will be there to ask a question like that. No person will be existing at that time. Yet, it is said in the scriptures that the body of such a person may continue to exist for some time. It does not mean that he will die immediately. The belief is that in this state of total absorption in consciousness light, a person physically cannot live for more than 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks. The body will be shed then. There was only one person in Maharashtra who attained this kind of body. Nobody knew his name. He was living in a place called Akkalkot. So people used to call him Akkalkot Swami, Swami Samartha. He would not speak, but people around him knew that he was a great master. He would not utter one word. He would not ask for anything. Day and night, he was like that, alone to himself. One poor man, knowing that this is a great person, wanted some blessings. Generally, no blessing is given. He would not speak at all. The poor man had to have his daughter married, but he had no funds. He went to prostrate he went and prostrated himself before the great master of the seventh stage that I am describing and asked for his blessing. The Swami pointed to something, the skull of a dead man. The marriage is supposed to be a holy act, and such an inauspicious thing he is trying to give. The man felt disgusted, but because of his faith in the great master, he tied the skull in a rag and went to his house and threw it near the veranda. He borrowed money and had the marriage performed. After a month or so, when the wife was sweeping the veranda, she hit this handle, she hit this bundle, and it burst into little shining pieces. There was no skull there. They were all little shining stones, so many. He took one to the shop in the market and asked, "Is this stone of any value?" "From where did you get it?" the shopkeeper asked. "This costs 100,000 rupees." The man's heart broke. He went back to the old saint and prostrated himself. "The skull has become a reservoir of gems," he said, but this great master would not speak one word. This is some of the ways in which great masters of the seventh stage behave. Their attitude nobody can understand. There was one Swami like that, living on the other side of the Ganga many years back, in the time of Swami Shivananda, looking like a crazy person. He would not wear any cloth also. He would go to the market. If he sees baskets of sweets, he would lift them and throw them in the road and go away. Again he would go to another shop and throw the whole thing onto the ground. Afterwards, they say, the business of those shops multiplied 100-fold. Then people used to run to him, please throw my things in the shop." He would not listen. He would go away unconcerned. Great masters like Shirdi Sai Baba, Sri Ramakrishna Paramhamsa, this Akkalkot Swami, and many others are there of that kind, who were not human beings. As I mentioned, they say that the body will not last very long because the prarabdha, which keeps the body intact for some time, gets exhausted by the work that it has completed, and then it has no work to perform. Consciousness is shrouded in this body, and when consciousness bursts forth, the body cannot stand. It is also mentioned in the Yoga Vashishta that people of this type can be counted on the fingers. There will not be a multitude of people. You will not find them everywhere moving on the road. Very humorously it says that the weight of these people the earth cannot bear. The earth cannot suffer the weight of these people. It is a humorous way of putting it. Very few will be there of this kind. Shuka Maharishi, Shuka means Shukdevji Maharaj, who told Bhagavatam. Vyasa's great son, a little boy of 16 years old, was one with all the trees, mountains and everything. He was just going naked, without consciousness of the body. When Vyasa, his father, called, "Shuka, my son, where are you going?" the trees in the forest everywhere started vibrating. "I am here, I am here." There is another story about this great Shuka. There was a king called Yudhishthira, known in the Mahabharata, a very virtuous man, who did a lot of charity. He won the Mahabharata battle. Do you know the story of Mahabharata? Andrew says, a little bit. Swamiji says, oh, it is worth reading. Indian culture cannot be known unless you read Mahabharata. Andrew, this is the second time you have told me that, Swamiji. And after he was crowned king, he had a desire to feed millions of people as a gesture of his greatness as emperor. And he also wanted to know how many people had eaten. He asked great Maharishi Vedvyas, "Can you have some method contrived so that I might know how many have eaten?" Maharishi Vedvyas hung a bell with this mantra. He said, "When 1,000 people eat, it will ring once. You can count the number of times it rings and imagine that so many thousands have eaten." After all the people had eaten and gone away, the bell started ringing continuously. Non-stop it rang. "What is this? Is there something wrong with the bell?" Yudhishthira said. Maharishi Vedvyas said, "My bell cannot do wrong. Some tremendous mystery is there behind it. Once only it will ring when 1,000 people eat. You find out if anybody else is eating." He went looking around and found this little boy Shukdevji Maharaj, looking unkempt, sitting with a dog which was licking the leaves, the remains of the people who had eaten, and he was eating one grain. When he ate one grain, the bell started ringing. The king ran to Vyasa. Some poor boy is standing there and he is eating one grain, and immediately it rings as if 1,000 people have eaten. Who is that boy? Ved Vyasa said, "He is my son. He is the whole universe himself. If one grain goes into his stomach, millions have been fed." Yudhishthira wept. "I feel ashamed. I never knew such a person exists, and I am boasting that I have fed millions of people." He fell prostrate before that boy, but Shuka was unaware. These are stories of the enlightened people who have pierced through the cosmos and made it their own. Not merely made it their own, they themselves are the cosmos. The Upanishad says the universe is his. Nay, he himself is the universe. What more can we say about enlightenment? It is worth thinking deeply. Andrew says, "Thank you, Swamiji." Swamiji says, "It is worth thinking on this matter, and one day we all shall have it." And let the bell ring. So, what were the 7 stages? First was Shubhecha, thinking of doing, having a feeling to do, to be good or to do good. Second was Vicharana, contemplating on what means good. Third was Tanumanasi, meaning when you are concentrated on doing on the good, the rest of the mind thins away. Fourth stage is Sattvapatti. Sattvapatti means your mind becomes even very, very, very thin, and you start having thrills and glimpses of the reality. Fifth stage, Asama Sakti. Is that correct? Asama Sakti. Fifth stage is Asama Sakti. What is Asama Sakti? Where all sorts of differences that are there, they start melting away, and such a person starts seeing the whole universe in himself. Then the sixth stage is Padartha Bhavana. He starts seeing that matter is not matter with form, with name, with qualities, with differences, but it is of the nature of, what is it? Of light consciousness. So, where is his attention now? Is it on matter or is it on consciousness? It is on consciousness. So, he has found what is good. Now, it is not on matter. He sees that the entire world, which is nothing but matter, is nothing but consciousness alone. This is a revelation to him. And the last one is Turiya, wherein the one who is experiencing, having this experience, becomes the experience. There is no difference between the experiencer and the experienced. And in the penultimate stage, that when the whole universe reveals himself to be of the nature of light, he sees that the entire, because he is still thinking, he is still experiencing. Where is the experience? Always in the mind. He sees the whole mind filled with that transcendental light. And the last stage is Turiya, wherein he becomes that light. In fact, he is that light. The experiencer and the experienced, they merge into each other. And this way, by reading the stories, by listening to the glories of great masters who have had this experience are living that experience. Some of the examples he gave of Akkalkot Swami, Shirdi Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba, Ramakrishna Paramhans, Gajanan Maharaj, and so on. We must invoke their blessings so that we also start at least with the first step, which is that to first step is to be good, to find out what good is. Let's sit quietly for some time. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namah. Hari